Hi, I'm Mitch, and welcome to the Restoration Road, where we're going to talk about Jesus in Haiti, a nonprofit organization that exercises missions in Haiti to be part of Christ reaching that country, and you're going to hear about it today in very personal ways. My guests include Dr. Matt Hicks, my good friend. Doc, how are you?
Great.
And Bruce Emerick, businessman, entrepreneur who God got a hold of to do this specific thing. And Bruce, I'd like to talk with you first about how you started Jesus in Haiti. You're a founding board member, and what happened that got your heart attached to Haiti?
Well, it's an interesting story. Tom Osbeck, who is a former Fort Wayne Youth for Christ inner city director, went on a missions trip 15 years ago to Haiti, and he felt God's call in his life to work with the people of Haiti, and that's how he ended up there. About 5 years after he went, we went on a missions trip, and Tom asked me at that time if we would be interested in partnering with him to start Jesus in Haiti.
Mm-hmm. While you were there in Haiti, something unique happened. You learned about a boy who needed adoption.
We did. Tom had a habit of gathering up some of the local orphans and bringing them to his house on weekends just to provide food and some recreation. So he had this one little boy, and he tries to ham it up with the kids in the villages and make them laugh. So he was holding this one little boy over a barrel, and his shorts were so big, he was holding him upside down, feet first. His shorts were so big that they fell off, and all the kids laughed. So Tom brought him back and about to his home for the weekend, and that happened to be the weekend that we were visiting. And Tom said, "This is a very special little boy, and when you get back to the States, please find a family that can adopt this kid, because God's telling me that he's got something special for him. His name is Mo, and he said, I just know that there's something out there for him." So my wife and I took his photo, and on the trip back, we made the decision that we were the ones that were going to adopt him. So it worked out great.
Amazing. And then how did you adopt your daughter?
Well, we would make trips back to Haiti about every 6 to 8 weeks to get to know our new son. And the lady that was doing the adoption for our son says, "I've got a little girl, an orphan girl. She's about the same age, 6 years old, and she needs a home also." So we went to meet her, and it was like seeing your daughter for the first time. I mean, it was just, we knew at that moment that she was going to be our daughter.
What a story.
So and that's been 10 years now, and I always tell people that we've been much more blessed than what we've been able to bless those kids.
Mm. That's powerful. Matt, I guess fast forward to 2010, and the earthquake that devastated Haiti got your attention, and what did you do about that?
Well, it's interesting. I think most of us, when we see those type of events occur, wish to have some way, instead of just typing in a number or something on the cell phone and donating $5, you'd like to be a little more personally involved if you can. So earthquakes are kind of a unique disaster. In other words, they're not like tsunamis or anything like tornadoes. These typically cause in urban areas a large amount of damage and a large number of injuries. So in a sense, they're more suited for more orthopedic care than many of the other natural disasters. So,
and you're an orthopedic surgeon.
As an orthopedic surgeon, I felt, you kind of feel like there's something you wish you could do. So right afterwards, and they were coming in with the death tolls of a lot of significant number. And, I've been praying about there's some way I could somehow be involved. And I got a phone call. I remember my daughter attended Black Hawk Christian at that time. She's graduated since then. We were playing at Manchester, and I got a phone call from a number I didn't know. And they just asked me, "Do you have any interest in traveling down to Haiti and helping with the disaster relief?" And that was a little less than a week after the disaster. So, of course, those type of events, when God gives me those kind of things, I usually jump and say yes. But I said, I better ask my wife first, just to clear the air. I'm not always good about that, but I thought that was important to do. So I said, talk to my wife about it, and she gave me the go ahead. And so I called him back within 20 minutes and said yes, and he said, okay, we're leaving in 36 hours. So there's
my goodness.
So
now you got surgeries probably scheduled and things, right? I mean, you got a lot.
That was an interesting conversation I had when I went in the next day. I said, I'm going to clear my schedule, and I don't know how long I'm going to be gone. Because my plan was just to go down, and then when I wasn't needed so much, I would just come home. So we booked one-way flights, and it was interesting because that was Monday night. So pretty much we had Tuesday to kind of get things around, and we left early Wednesday morning. So Tuesday was a day of trying to figure out what I would take with me, and we were going with one of my partners volunteered to go with me, which was wonderful, Dr. Ted Tchaikovsky. And so we were trying to figure out what we would like to take with us, because we were anticipating being somewhere where we would not have any instruments, we would not have any kind of provisions potentially, because that was what we had heard on from people who were there. They were having difficulty getting supplies. So we kind of packed up a large number of duffels, and a large number, we had like 18. So, and these were hockey duffel bags. So, we went with a group initially called Water for Life, and they mostly help out with providing water for people down south and past Bottom or near the Lakai area. And so they had actually called Delta and told them we were going to need some extra room. But you can imagine showing up with 18 duffel bags. Yeah. And they're staring at us going, how are we going to get the weight limit, So, but it all worked out. We were able to. We flew down to Fort Pierce, and from there we flew down by private plane from Missionary Flights International directly to Haiti. The interesting thing was that at that time, the NASCAR kind of guru and former coach Joe Gibbs donated a couple of their private planes to help shuttle people down and back. So they were running constantly. So we flew down there. We flew into the airport, and at that point the airport really wasn't functional. So there had been damage to the main airport. So they kind of shuttled us over to this small kind of private area, and somehow they cleared customs, which back at that point it wasn't really. They were saying okay, and just shuttled you through. So we kind of got into 2 trucks, and they kind of started taking us through the city to where we would stay. And
were you intending to do surgeries at that time?
Yes, and we had enough provisions where we could kind of make things work for an extended period of time. And we had a couple nurses with us and some other staff that were familiar with Haiti who'd been down there with Water for Life, and they kind of helped us get through some of the system. And we ended up staying in Port-au-Prince itself, in a Delma section at a Cascaya Christian school. It was a walled compound, and the interesting part is that the Southern Military Command kind of made that their base kind of while we were there. So my wife was happy because we had some protection. Because at that point there were no lights, there was no power, so it was completely black. I mean, it's amazing to see a city like that, and all at night it's just completely pitch dark.
Did you have generators?
They had generators and lights, so they would run at night and that was nice. But everybody was outside, as you can imagine, because nobody wanted to stay inside because there were still aftershocks occurring, which we could feel while we were there. So we just had probably a 4-person tent, and we had 4 people sleeping in it. And we would go during the day to the hospital and go work during the day, then come back at night because they didn't have enough power to run at night for more surgeries. So we would come back at night and spend the night and go back the next day.
And did you do surgeries nonstop in that time period? Do you know how many you did?
I cannot tell you. That's a little bit of a distant memory. I do have one of the pictures I have is of our surgical board, which shows you every day kind of the surgeries that we would have. And then what we would typically do is try to prioritize what we needed to have accomplished during that day, and then try to get through what we could. The problem is obviously you thinking about things that you need is sterilization. So, the sterilizers wouldn't always work. And then when they wouldn't work, we had these big tubs of water they would heat up, and we'd actually we would sterilize things in boiling water to try to help do some of the emergent surgeries. And, it's just amazing to see these people because there were no pain meds. And these people had severe injuries. Again, the more significant injuries the patients had, they had passed away by that time. because of the life-threatening. But the limb-threatening ones, you'd see people come in, even at, when we finished, I think I went home just before I finished 2 weeks there, and they were still coming in with injuries from the earthquake. So that would have been 3 weeks out after. And even when more people were going down, they still would present with new injuries almost weekly, just not new injuries, but injuries that had not been treated 4 to 5 weeks out from the initial time. It's just that so many people had suffered limb injuries, they just couldn't get care.
It's amazing, though, how God prompted you, and his vision was followed by his provision on how he used you when you got there. Bruce, I'd like you to describe Haiti, maybe a little bit of the history and then what it's like and what the earthquake did to it. And I assume you were down there around that time too.
Yeah, we were down shortly after the quake. Well, Haiti's a country about the size of Maryland, so it's not a real large country. And it was a former French colony, and at one point back in the 1700s, it was the wealthiest island nation in the Caribbean. In 1797, the African slaves overthrew the French, and it became the first black republic. And unfortunately, Haiti's had a succession of very poor and corrupt dictators throughout their history. Even to this day, the government is pretty much non-functional. The current president, Michael Martelly, I think there are some signs of hope there, better than they have had for decades. But the average income in Haiti is $2 a day, and it's an island nation of approximately 10 million people, and there's literally hundreds of thousands of orphans, some with parents, some that the parents cannot care for, so they're classified as orphans because they're just turned out on the streets or put into orphanages. So it's a very, very destitute country. It's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, rivals some of the ones in the middle of Africa.
90% unemployment?
Roughly 90% unemployment. The average life expectancy is in the 64, 65-year-old range. There's a lot of infants that die from preventable diseases that we can easily treat here. Jesus tells us in Matthew 25:40 that which you do for the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you do for me. And that's kind of the philosophy of what we try to do, Jesus in Haiti Ministries. We want to preach the gospel of Christ, create disciples, meet their educational needs, and also meet their physical needs. We employ approximately 40 Haitian staff, and we're in various stages of training them to be ministers, youth workers, teachers for our school. We have a school of 275 students. And
is that K through 12?
Yes. So we're trying to equip Haitian people, and we bring U.S. professionals in, teachers, physicians, dentists, and try to work with the locals so we can replicate some of the things that we're trying to do. Another thing that we do, we've got a program called Community Health Evangelism, where we go into the villages, and it's a program where you train the village leaders how to minister to their people and how to bring themselves up out of poverty, whether it's microloans or small businesses or growing crops, things like that. So,
does everything center around the school, or do you have different efforts, I guess, that doesn't have to go through the Christian school?
We call them points of light. We've got a primary mission home where Tom Osbeck, our director, is housed, and he's got about, depending on the week, 15 to 20 young men living with him that are basically orphans that he's mentoring and training. Then we've also got our school, which is up to 275 students. And in Haiti, there is really no public school system, so you have to pay to put your child into school. And at $2 a day, it's very difficult for most families to afford that.
That's all they earn.
That's all they earn. So what happens typically is organizations like Jesus in Haiti come in, and we get sponsors for those children. And thank God we've got all 275 of our children sponsored now. Another one of our points of light is the Victory Bible Church. and we run probably 500 to 600 people on a typical week there, and we've got a Haitian pastor, actually several Haitian pastors, so they kind of rotate. And Tom Osbeck also speaks some Sunday mornings with an interpreter. And then we've also got other deacons and other people within the church, Sunday school teachers that are Haitian. And after the earthquake, we raised funds and built a hopefully earthquake-proof structure. It's basically a large pole barn with a steel skeleton. And as Matt said, Haitians would not even go into a building after the quake, so we wanted something they would feel comfortable with, and that seems to have fit the bill.
Does Jesus in Haiti own these properties, or do you lease the land from the government? How does that work?
We own, we've got a 7-acre parcel that we own. It's out on the main highway that runs out of Port-au-Prince. It's just over the hill is the Caribbean Ocean, so it's a beautiful setting. And it's a walled, we walled all 7 acres for security. And we've got plans to acquire the adjoining property next door, which is about 15 acres. We would like to build a orphanage there. We'd like to build a guest home for when American visitors or European visitors come in as groups, work groups, so we can house them right there with the church, the school, and orphanage.
So Matt, you were praying about whether or not you should go back to Haiti, I guess? And
Yes, and I think it's one of those things that once you've been to some place and been personally involved there and you meet the people, you really want to go back. And that was one of those instances where, the Haitian people, you just can't help but really feel for and also really like. I mean, they're very likable people, even though they live in distinct poverty. I mean, there's a joy about much like you would see in other countries too that have Christ, but there's a joy in there that you just love. And so I think I was really interested in at that point going back in some role, and I didn't know what that role would be, whether it be medical or non-medical. I didn't really care at that point. And then so I've been praying about it for probably a good 3 to 6 months, and then Bruce called me and asked me to be a part of Jesus in Haiti, and I pretty much thought that was my answer to what God
he's
had asked.
praying about it. You call him. Did you know that he had gone before?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, how many more times did you go from
Been
the
there
first?
2 more since with them.
Okay.
Right.
And you used your expertise while you were there. You got to operate in your area of giftedness.
I would say not so much what the surgical means, but more so in I think probably helping more with the board of directors and trying to help use my whatever thought process I have to try to figure out how we can improve some of the conditions that they have there.
You're on the board of Jesus in Haiti now.
Yes.
The last trip you were on, you got sick, I guess, but it doesn't incubate, you say, until it incubates, and then you find out later how sick you really are. Can you describe what happened to you?
And that's most like any time you travel to a country that's not your own, the chances of contracting something are present. And while I was there, I was fine. However, I got back, and probably I got back on a Tuesday, and by Friday I wasn't feeling real good. Kind of had flu-like symptoms. I was, not sure what I had, and then every day I kept getting kind of sicker and sicker.
And you're working as you're.
And I was febrile, so I was running several, 100, 102 fevers, and just taking Advil and hydrating because I couldn't eat. So I wasn't sure, and I was having some diarrhea. So it's probably too much information, but I was pretty sick. So I was thinking, it's either I picked up some sort of traveler's diarrhea thing, or I picked up some other tropical disease, and so I was trying to kind of see what would happen, and finally I got to the point where I wasn't functioning well anymore, and I went to the ER, and they hydrated me, and I tried to keep working, and it just wasn't happening anymore, and so I finally went back to the ER, and they admitted me because
You're their trauma doctor.
I was trying, then I had belly pain. They were really worried about me. My blood counts were way off, and it took a while to diagnose me because it takes a while for these tests to come back. So I was on 4 different antibiotics and getting a lot of fluids, and they were very worried about me. So I was very thankful that I survived.
was touch and go.
Yeah, and they wanted to operate on me, but they couldn't operate on me because I had some belly issues occurring because my counts, my platelets were very low, and they couldn't operate on me for fear of bleeding, and so they were just kind of hoping things went well.
And you're healthy now, and how does Lisa, your wife, feel about you going back to Haiti again?
Well, it's interesting because the diagnosis came back as hemorrhagic dengue fever, and so dengue fever is not an uncommon event to occur in people who live there, and it has a very wide swath of places that you can find that. Most travelers don't get it because it's an endemic thing, because you have to be bit multiple times typically, because it's a very asymptomatic problem initially, and then as you have more events occur where you are bitten
by what?
The mosquito.
Okay.
You become more symptomatic, and so there's no vaccine, there's no protective immunity, so that pretty much it's just potluck. I mean, as far as what happens. So because I had hemorrhagic dengue fever, they say, the infectious disease docs say, I shouldn't go back to the Caribbean or go back to Haiti, because if I do, my chance if I get bit again by another mosquito carrying that, I will probably die. So at this point, my wife doesn't want me to travel. I think that's a good thing, isn't it?
Understood. Yes, that is good. That's good.
She was encouraging me. I should be a little worried. But so, and it's very much a difficult thing, because I want to go back. And I would be traveling back in January to go again, but I can't because of my recent illness. So I'm just going to have to see what God brings, because there's a plan for everything. Whether I was very content. I know if I would have passed away from that, I was ready to meet God. I didn't have any concerns. I was at peace with that. Not that was a life, not that I was expecting to die, but it's one of those things where if you feel like God's in control of your life, and you believe that, then you figure that no matter what happens, either good or bad, He'll be with you through it. He doesn't promise you not to save you from it. The expectation is that He'll be with you no matter what you go through. Yes. Mm-hmm. So that's my belief, and that's what I live. Mm. And so what happens in the future, I don't know. I'll have to wait and see. It's going to be hard not to want to go back there. So I'll have to see what God brings, and maybe they'll come up with a vaccine in the interim, and I'll be able to return.
Maybe you can invent it. Do you remember the mosquitoes biting you?
Well, it's one of those things. It's not a typical mosquito like we see where it's at nighttime. These are usually daylight mosquitoes. And so, we're outside almost all the time. So at any time I could have been bitten. So I don't distinctly remember that. But since it's one of those things where you have to be bitten several times over the course of time, more than likely at some point in the times I've been there, I've been bitten and not realized it.
Bruce, have you ever had this?
No, thank goodness, no. And I've made probably 32 trips to Haiti.
I was going to ask you how many trips you made.
I've been bitten up by mosquitoes many times, although since Matt's experience, I've been much more careful about using mosquito spray. But
I'm sure.
And actually, we've not had, we had something like 200 visitors there, American visitors last year, and fortunately none of them have come down with that. So it is relatively safe for Americans to go down there. Once in a while you'll get a mat.
What time of year do you usually go to Haiti?
Well, we have an annual board meeting every January, so I'll be going in January, each January, and then I usually go in the summer, the July-August time frame. And then I also accompany some church groups that go down, either spring break trips or fall trips. So usually I'm down there at least twice a year, sometimes as many as 4 times a year.
How do you do that with your businesses that you own? You have good people working with you?
We've got good people, yes. So I can be gone, and I take my iPad with me so I can communicate, and it works out well.
And then how are your children, Mo and Noel, doing? And do they have plans for college and career? What do they have in mind?
They've just been a joy to our whole family's lives. My son Mo would eventually like to end up in Haiti. He feels called to do that and do something in missions. My daughter, as yet, does not know quite what she wants to do, but they've just been phenomenal children for what they went through. They were both abandoned kids. My son was actually found in a dump at one point. His family had put him in the dump hoping he wouldn't survive until Tom found him. And my daughter had been abused and given up by her mother. So you would think they would have all kinds of psychological deficits and problems, but we've been blessed. They do great.
That's incredible. And you're okay that Mo goes back to Haiti?
Yes, 100%.
What an amazing story of adoption. It's just a picture of how God adopts us into his family. Guys, I can't thank you enough for being here and sharing your journey in Haiti, Jesus in Haiti, and God bless you for everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you, Mitch. We appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. So I want to ask you today, how are you doing with your life? Are you leader of your own life in advancing your own kingdom? Or have you surrendered your life to Christ as Savior and Lord? You see, we're either in or out when it comes to our relationship with Christ. There's no neutral ground. So I want to invite you today to confess your sin against a holy God. To say, God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I have fallen short. And to say to him, I can't, you can. I can't restore this life. God in Christ, you can. I can't free myself from the penalty of sin. God in Christ, you can. I can't free myself from the power of sin. God in Christ, you can. I can't free myself from the presence of sin. But on the other side, in eternity, God in Christ, you can. If you pray this simple prayer, the Holy Spirit will pitch his tent and dwell in you. And he will lead you down a new road, a new path. I call it Restoration Road, where he will make you new. He will restore your relationships, your relationship with God and your relationships with others. And he will show you that your ultimate value is to reflect the design of the designer, authenticity, and be used by him to bring his restoration to others and make them new. Your career, your home, whatever you do, wherever you go, it becomes a playground for you to advance the kingdom of Christ in others. If you've surrendered your life to Christ today as Savior and Lord, please visit us at therestorationroad.com and share your story with us today. God bless you.